Let's talk mediation. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the conversation series on mediation, created with an aim and vision to promote mediation in the world around us and to talk about mediation from the perspective of a common person. Let's start with a short legal disclaimer. The views expressed herein are the voluntary personal perspectives of the speakers and may or may not represent the views of the larger professional community they belong to. This conversation series aims to provide a general overview of the subject matter and may not be construed as a legal or professional advice in any manner whatsoever. The session is being recorded for wide circulation. So, uh, we have uh, today's guest speaker, is not new to us. BJ has been a part of the conversation. Brinda BJ Gaiden. Uh, and we will today be talking about a conversation series, what we aim to do this. So BJ has been, I call you BJ because I hope you don't like, I don't mind that. Is it okay for you? Hi BJ.
Yes, good morning. You're my sister. Thank you so much. I'm
Namaste.
so happy to be here. I love you, Sana, my sister in mediation, my more than a cohort. I am happy to be here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and Rectitude and everything that you guys are doing with 3Cs and 3Cs mediation and everything. Thank you.
So that was also necessary, the conversation aims to provide only free flow of conversations. Generally, we don't talk about that. So when we talk about I'm really glad that you've been kind enough to do this first session, and it is important for us to understand what we intend to do in these kind of conversations, because I intend to bring a lot of people in the first this kind of series, where because conflict is an integral part of everyone's life, not only intimate partner, but a larger family, a spectrum of people in workplace. And when we look at today's world globally, we're talking about peace, we're talking about uh, humanity, but we are experiencing a world, torn apart with conflict and sometimes violence. It gets violent also. So I intend to bring a lot of people here in these conversation series and to create an awareness of mediation. We always talk about peace, but when it comes to peaceful dispute resolution, we run back to our courts and we really trust in the system of the court. Well, court system cannot go anywhere because it is the intrinsic part of mediation also. It is the thing that, the legal system is the thing that gives volume, that gives power to mediation or peaceful dispute resolution. Because thank God for the laws there. Because if it was lawlessness, then it really is not going to make an impact. So today uh, I would be, I'm glad I welcome you, because you are going to be opening the conversation or introducing what we intend to do. And so this is the first part of a larger conversation, and maybe tomorrow when we are getting a lot of guests here, we'll be having 4 or 5 people discussing about it. So today we since you are a person who has seen intimate workplace disputes, relationship issues, so who else would be better to introduce what happens in these relationships, and why when I termed that posture of or introducing, I said why love is just not enough. So what happens in a relationship that rolls into any kind of relationship, whether it is intimate partner, whether it is parent and child relationship, whether it is workplace relationship, the love for the organization or the love for the country is just not enough. Sometimes things go go haywire. Love for the community,
Yes.
love for the humanity is just not enough. So where does conflict creep in? That was too much of me talking. So now over to you, BJ.
That's a lot. And I'm super excited to be the first speaker regarding the series of the 3 F's and what that's going to look like going forward. And I'm sure we're going to have a great turnout tomorrow and going forward. So, why love isn't enough? Conflicts in human relations is huge because it covers every spectrum, and as a mediator, we constantly have to think about what that might look like in our own life to be a mirror for those who we work with, those who we live with, those who we love, and things like that. So, what I can say when it comes to family, we're talking about children, in laws, family dynamic, and all that goes along with that, which would be the stresses of all those things and how they can be aligned or how they can be misaligned. We don't know, but whatever it is, we have to work through it when it comes to family. So, starting with family as the 3 F's, what I can say is that can you have a single friend or a single family member that you can go to when you need to talk to someone when you're stressed out or if there's a problem? I think when it comes to family, everybody needs someone that they can go to when they have a dispute or if there's a problem or if there's something that they need guidance on. But there are times when it comes to family, you just need them to listen and not give advice. So when it comes to family dynamics and what that might look like as far as conflicts, you can't talk about family without the other F word, which is forgiveness. So that's one of the most difficult things to do. I want to say when it comes to family is forgiving the hurts we don't deserve, which I always say that I love that. When it comes to family, how can you forgive the hurts you don't deserve when they're your family? With other people, you may or may not forgive them or move on or just, kind of dismiss them, but still treat them nicely. But when it's your family, you really have to know that number one, guess what? You did not get the opportunity to select your family. God selected your family for you, or whoever you believe in, your higher power, your whatever your belief is, whether you're Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, whatever you are. You do not get to pick your family. God did that for you. So, in my opinion, this is my own personal opinion. Everybody have their own. I don't think that God makes mistakes. You're born into the family that you're born into. When it comes to family relationships, your husband, your wife, those are people. But if you really sit back and think about it and have an opportunity to really, I like to say, marinate on it or think about it, you will find that the person that you are with is probably the person that can handle your stuff and you can handle their stuff. So there are times, I mean, it's just not a mistake that you're with the person that you're supposed to be with. That's just my opinion. You could tell me what you think about that, Sana.
See, that's what I was thinking, when I was hearing you. A young bride comes to a new family. For a gentleman, new relationships, in-laws, outlaws. You know, uh, is a young couple even trained to handle all that? Do they know what they are getting into? Do they understand? So the first F that we will be handling, that is the family, and how that dynamics, the power dynamics of a family, because you're coming from a house where you love your parents. Your spouse is coming from a house where they have loved their parents, they have lived their lives with them, and you lived yours with them. Now you are just joining together, and you have the power dynamics that it says, marry me, marry my family. That's also a quotation that goes. But how far will that go, and where to draw a line, where to draw a balance? So we would really want people to come out with that, how they handle that thing, where they draw the line, how conflicts are handled in families when it comes to the dynamics of family. So the second F would be the finances, and the third F, which is also very important, is the friend circle, or the outer circle of a person whom they have always been. Their friends, their professional relationship, whether it counts as friends also, but I think the profession also we can take in that section, that segment, how your profession or your professional dynamics also, which could come into the family friends part, how that changes your relationship with your intimate partner. So all these we would be discussing when it comes to family issues. And also the fact that all this affects not only in one relationship. When we talk about children, the relationship with elderly
Yes.
parents in the family,
Mhm.
how things, even, a child has been born and brought up in a family. When they start earning, finances become an issue with parents also. The family member coming to another family, in joint family systems, how dynamics change, how people have to adapt, how people have to innovate, how people have to work their things out, and how even in parents, your teenagers going out on a party, a pajama party with their friends, how that that is a challenging situation, how conflicts break up in families. So we will be handling all that, and in workplace also, sometimes as a team, you part of the team, and suddenly a newcomer in the office comes and the dynamics change, how power dynamics change.
Yes.
You've been a part
Yeah.
of this team since long, and suddenly dynamics change for you. So that's also a family kind of an environment for a person. And then finances, you get your promotion, you don't get your promotion, the other person gets their promotion. The finances play a big role in conflict in workplaces. And also your relationships, even personal relationships in your office. You have friends who you are very intimate with, and suddenly your work gets affected. So all these
Mhm.
things, the whole conflict scenario is totally wound between a lot of things. So that's what I intend to bring a lot of people here, from different fields, different walks of life, and how they feel that conflicts need to be handled, or how they handle their conflict. So
And I think
your
that's
thoughts on that?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because from them being from all walks of life. But there's a case study that I was working on. A young couple got married. And one thing that I can say when it comes to mediation, should go to do pre-mediation before they get married, because
Ah,
there are people who say, hey, I'm getting married, I'm marrying you, I am not marrying your family. And that is the biggest myth. That is one of the biggest myths. And I don't know if it has to do with millennials, Gen Zs, or baby boomers, whatever the age might be. But there is that strong belief, that I hear all the time. Oh, well, he can just, he's a mama's boy, but he's going to change. She's a daddy's girl. She's going to change. No, they're not going to change. They are not going to change. What you see is what you get. It will not change. He will not change. She will not change. But how do you manage and learn to live with that person the way that they are? That's where premarital mediation comes in. If more couples would consider that, it would be very helpful. But back to the case study. So this couple gets married, thinking that I'm only marrying him, I'm not marrying his family. And then because they have traditions where they do things on birthdays, they do things for holidays, and so this holiday, why do we always have to go to your family's functions for holiday? Well, your family don't do anything. Well, it doesn't mean we still can't be with my family, even though they're not doing anything. Well, but this is our tradition. So if they had talked about these things before they got married, that wouldn't be a conflict. Okay. When it comes to those couples who are getting married without discussing things, oh, we're going to have kids in 3 years. Well, you know what? You're 40. Do you really want to wait till you're 43? So those are things that they should talk about in advance. I mean, are you going to consider freezing your eggs? I mean, what is it that you want to consider things that you need to do to have babies if we're going to stay together? Because in some cultures, as it's all about the man having a son or the man having children with you, period, as his wife. And again, that's a whole other thing why some men take a second wife, or a third or fourth wife. But the family dynamics are what they are. So when you get married to somebody, the bottom line is to consider the fact that when you marry them, you are marrying the entire family. And that's just the way that is. And then secondly, when children come along, it changes the whole dynamics of the situation because you forget to have time with each other. And I see this often over and over and time again, those couples who are getting divorced after 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, even 60 years of marriage getting divorced. It's really happening. And you ask, why would you divorce after all these years? Why? Because sometimes people just reach their limit. Sometimes people just reach their limit and people change. And you're no longer a part of the change that they're growing into. Sometimes there are health issues and sometimes there are not. But one of the biggest things I can say that I'm seeing right now when it comes to family and mediation, many couples are forgetting the fact that health can be a big problem when it comes to families. Your health, as a woman ages, she goes through what is called perimenopause. She's going to change. That's going to change the whole family dynamics because the family is going to change. Whether she's married, whether she's single, no matter what, the family's going to change because of her personality, the way that she reacts, the way that she feels day to day, and I often like to say, call it private summers instead of calling it menopause, call it private summers, and that affects the family also because if you're the main breadwinner and you're going through all of this, you're going to be a little irritable to everybody. And that's just what it is. It's not personal. It's just that sometimes you have no control over it. I know we're talking about family, but all of this is part of the family dynamics, whether you're married, whether you're single or not. And then for the men, same thing. Men go through menopause also, but it's on a different scale, different level. I think they call it the 7-year itch where they go and they buy the sports car and they do different things when they get to be a certain age, like that 7-year itch after being married for 7 years or more. They some people like to call them man feathers where they, do a little things that might not be right. But, I'm all saying all this to say that when it comes to family, there is no perfect family. However, there are bonds that are created that should be held closely because none of us are perfect. When it comes to family, the main thing I can say is none of us are perfect. We all have issues, and forgiving the hurts we don't deserve will take us a long way. So if you are single, if you are married, whatever your situation is, if you're a student, whatever your situation is, you have a family. That's one thing I can say. Everybody has a family, whether you're detached or attached, you have a family. And it's your choice as to whether or not you're attached or detached to your family. But family is most important. And the dynamics of each family is different. And what makes it different is your attitude about it. You have an option to figure out and to decide whether or not you want to forgive your family or not forgive your family for things. Then you have an opportunity to embrace change. Because when you're in a family, I think sometimes, not all the time, that birth order matters. The order of your birth, the youngest family member is treated totally different from the oldest family member. And there are times the youngest family member tends to be called upon the most. Not always, but sometimes. But I know I'm talking a lot, Sana. I'll let you say some things about what you feel about what I'm saying.
No, I enjoy that. So when we do talk about family, it becomes an imperative part of conflict also and of love and care also. When we talk about outer families, when we talk about relationship with in-laws, outlaws, when relationship with siblings, they are also part of family. Those people. And then when your children move to graduation, they will form their bonds. They will get more, uh, more intimate relationships they will have in their lives. At that time, your adjustment conflicts can come there also because it's human relationship, and in human relationship, conflicts are a part of life. So that's what I would be, in these conversation series to follow. We would be handling these kind of issues where people would talk about a lot about what their workplace dispute has been, how uh, things have gone in their relationships, how they have handled. Is it equally important to consider taking someone who is neutral, someone whom they can trust, someone whom they can maybe confide in? How important that person would be? And if possible, we would be taking people who can, relate things from whatever they've seen in society, how they have handled, and that would be important because today mediation is not taking a very higher step, and you know, litigation is the first step that comes to the mind when dispute resolution is concerned. So that would be very important to understand. So when we talk about the first part, as we talk about the family, what is the second part that is very important?
When it comes to family, regarding family, friends, finances, I think finances, I can't wait till we start talking about finances because that is such a big, huge issue for couples, whether they're a new couple or a seasoned couple. When it comes to finances, that's going to be a topic that we can really grip ourselves on. Then when it comes to friendships, and that kind of always takes me back to family because your friendship should be like your family should be like a friendship type bond, you know, which means there are some families that have friends that are closer than families and vice versa, you know. But I can't wait till we start talking about finances and those other topics that we're going to get into. But you're absolutely right. So family dynamics right now are changing so much, and there are several reasons why the family dynamics changing. Of course, the political climates, you know. There's one case study I can share. Imagine this: you're a family member, you are a 19-year-old female, all right, and you are one of several children. But because of your political beliefs, your family now wants nothing to do with you. In fact, they want you to move out the house. They don't care where you go because of your political beliefs. Now, here you are, a 19-year-old, and you're the only one in your family that feels the way that you feel politically, and everybody else in the family has a different political belief. I mean, everybody else believes the same thing, but your belief is different. And I'm not saying it's Democrat, Republican, or independent. I just want you to understand. Imagine this one young 19-year-old girl has been disbanded from her family. So she pretty much is like, has no one, has no one. So every day she's stressed out, doesn't have anyone, only because of her political beliefs. She's been she's no longer allowed to participate in any family activities. She's no longer able to come to family functions because she's not invited. She's excluded from everything. They make sure that she's not invited. They make sure that she has no knowledge of anything that's going on in the family, all because of her political beliefs. And this is her family, and she's only 19. That's going to scar her. That's going to scar her. But she's sticking to her political beliefs because it's a freedom. It's a right. It's a freedom right. So imagine being in a family like that, where you just, because of your beliefs, they've just kicked you to the curb and they no longer want to have any interaction with you. That's really tough. A lot of people are dealing with that right now simply because of their political beliefs. So family dynamics can change at the drop of a hat based on anything that can cause the relationship to be broken. And in order to restore communication in families, mediation is always an option, but the biggest thing is to have trust. Every family should have trust and empathy for each other. If there's not trust and empathy for the family, it's going to be a tough road to ride. I mean, it's going to be very difficult, because you want to be able to trust the person that you're talking to. You want to be able to trust the person that you love. You can have empathy for them and not trust them. You can have empathy for them and still show them love, but you may not trust them. So I think trust is one of the biggest things for families right now. And it's something that really we don't talk a lot about, trust in families.
Yes, most definitely, yes. And while you were talking, it occurred to me that there are many families where conflict is just an intrinsic part of their lives. Maybe because they did not handle it properly, they did not think of handling that properly, or maybe that becomes a way of life for them. So how important a family, where a relationship, uh, that should be a blanket, should be a comfort zone, your comfort zone, and becomes a fat battlefield. So how would that amount to, and what would that what kind of a relationship that means? So we will be handling these kind of conversations. I really want to bring out these kind of conversations where there are different kind of families and they're living in a state of a no comfort zone within within their families, and it becomes as if it's another battlefield in their lives. That is also a very important aspect to discuss.
Yeah, that's something, and I think when it comes to conflict in families, there should always be family members who ensure that there's no conflict in the family. And I want to just say a little bit about my own family. I have relatives in my family who ensure that there's no conflict with any family members, and I love it. The tactics that they use, to ensure that there's not always conflict is interesting, but it works. And some families, if they could consider having one or two people in the family that always ensure that there's no conflict in the family, what that might look like is those parties who are conflicting, get them together and have them talk it out with you in the room. So they're literally acting, those family members are literally acting as mediators to ensure that those disputes are resolved. And it doesn't matter the age group, it doesn't matter with the location. They just know that whenever you get together, those two people, they're going to resolve that dispute, even if it means tricking them into coming to a spot. Example, we're having a party over here. We want you to come. Well, there's no party. It's just these two people that are going to meet with this family member to resolve this dispute. They think that they're coming to a party, but they're actually coming to get this dispute resolved. And these family members who are elderly, they're elders, they're going to make sure that this dispute is resolved. So they leave there with the dispute resolved, thinking that they were coming to a party, but they were coming to really a family mediation that they didn't know about. So whatever it takes to get the dispute resolved is what it takes, because there's going to always be conflict in families. And some people can forgive, some people can't. But sometime when new information comes out, it can change the way that person thinks. If new information is displayed or new information is given to one or both parties, it can change the way a person thinks sometimes. But conflict is always going to happen. It's just how you manage it and if you want to manage it. There are really some people who do not want to resolve disputes. Some people feed on chaos and being angry and being upset. That's their thing. And I think, I'm not saying anything is wrong or right about it. That's who they are. But sometimes individual counseling and therapy works. you know, and there are times when family members do need individual counseling and therapy and group individual counseling and therapy. It really works and it helps. So whatever it takes to get the family whole, but there are instances when there are family members who, I mean, there's nothing you can do. There's just really nothing you can do. Your hands are just tied. And it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And you have to take yourself away from that. So I've seen that happen in my family before. So it's not an easy thing, but it can be managed effectively, you know, because no one wants to walk around, you know, with negative thoughts about their own family members. But we're living in a world where life is what it is. And there are times when you just have to let people go and love them from afar, you know, and that's what it is for your own mental health. There are times when you, as a family member, have to let someone go mentally to take care of yourself, you know, because if you try it one time, you've tried two times, and you've tried three times and they're stuck there, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And that's when you let it go.
Yes, that was a very good example of, I think, mediation, and what a lovely family that, they bring two people together, and they make sure that they resolve their disputes, or they resolve their conflict, and they, call it truce. So that was a lovely feeling and an example. So that's one I should say example of a good mediation, I should say, between family members, and that's a wonderful feeling. That's a wonderful feeling. So I think we take a short break. What say you? And come back for discussing finances, the second part of our conversation. Okay, okay. That was
Yes.
that was so that was just an example of how we are, or how we intend to mold this conversation series with, of course, today BJ has been kind enough to take some time out and come here and discuss what, or help me out to discuss what we intend to do in these conversation series. And it will be great if we can have two, three people coming together and discussing, so that we have a lot of people sharing their views on what it means for dispute resolution, what it means to them for dispute resolution. That would be a great idea, and that would be great. So I just stop the recording, and let's wait for some time, and join back again after a short break. Thank you,
All
BJ,
right.
once
Looking
again.
forward to part two.
Great inputs.
Thank
Great
you.
inputs.
Thank you.